So tonight we're going to get started on some props for our stop motion film. And so, if you guys recall, last week, of course, we worked on our set, or one of our sets with the apples. So, our characters are going to need to eat some of those apples. And I'm thinking that I'm probably going to make some apples which are over. This over here. Using our puppet putty. And so this is going to be the exterior of the apple with the puppet putty. And I want to make some of the apples look like they're eaten. So I'm going to use here we go. So we got this is a really old 5-pound block of Van Aken that I have. It's, probably, I don't know, maybe, I'm going to guess this is about 8 years old. So it's definitely good clay. The formula that was used back then was a little bit different than it is now. And this stuff animates a lot better, sculpts better, doesn't crumble as much. So nowadays it's not really like that, unfortunately. But so what else? We need some green. Get some green clay here. Maybe this. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe a little bit brighter. A little bit lighter color. Let's see. Probably pretty good. I'd rather have some yellow in there. I got some puppet putty that's sort of bright green, but I think that's too bright there. I could mix in a little bit of darker color with this, but the translucency of puppet putty is more for very waxy surfaces. So now I'm going to stick with some Avalon, some really old Avalon, I think. Alright. So hopefully your week is going well, everybody. Hey, Jason. Hey, Wee Beast. Welcome back. So yeah, it's really getting down to the wire here. I didn't have time this week to photograph all the puppets that we made in the sets. Didn't have time, but hopefully this upcoming week before the live show, I hope that I can get some stuff photographed. My clients have been on my case about, well, not on my case, I mean, I'm not behind or anything on my work, but they're wanting me to get some of my sculptures, or some of their sculptures done for them. So I'm sculpting Lee Merriweather, and I've got a Cesar Romero, which I've been adding clay to the 3D printed version of him. Can't really see it on the web camera, it's kind of... But anyway, you got to add clay to the surface of the sculpture, and I got to re-add all the details and stuff, like the wrinkles, because the 3D printing process, you lose all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things I'm working on now, and my client, I think he's wanting me to do sculpt the Lee Merriweather, which I'm about maybe, I want to say, more than halfway done with. And she was the actress that played Catwoman. That was in the 1960s. There were actually 3 actresses. She was one of them, and my client actually knows this person, Lee Merriweather, the actress, and he's wanting to make like a statue as a gift, And so I'm sculpting the face and the head. I'm going to cast it, and then it will be attached to a mannequin body, and so that's what I've been really busy with that. And of course, animateclay.com, I try to make sure that that's up to date, make sure everything works. Which reminds me, so if you guys noticed, we have a puppet sculpting challenge going on right now. So go to animateclay.com and check it out if you're wanting to join. I figured, puppet sculpting would be a lot simpler to do than, making an actual film. And I think people have been very busy with, their personal lives and school and stuff. I think, like I mentioned last time. So Uh, I'm trying to make it a little bit easier if people want to kind of get involved and maybe sculpt some puppets, get some practice in. I mean, sculpting is just an integral part of stop motion in so many ways, so... Alright, so we're going to make this apple. So we're going to make 2 versions of this apple. One like this. Actually, maybe 3 versions. I might actually make like a squashed version of this. Let me think here. Maybe a squashed and a stretched. Because what some of the characters are going to do in the film is they're going to throw these apples up into the air and, like, catch them in their mouths. And some are going to bite them. Anyway, I think this is going to be pretty good. So anyway, what was I saying there? My wife just called me on the phone. I mean, she always calls. She knows every Wednesday I have a live show, and then she always calls right when the show starts. I don't understand her sometimes. But anyways, hey Jay, I know it's your mom. And just tell her I'm having a live show, okay?
Oh, so you're done with that thing.
Such is life. That's how my life has been lately. Pretty crazy. So anyways, hopefully you guys have been having a good week. Maybe creatively, hopefully you guys have been doing something fun. And being creative it's really important to most of, I think to most of my viewers. If you're creative, it's kind of, if you can't be creative and make something, people, at least I know I would probably get depressed if I couldn't create. I don't understand why my brain works like that. Why is it that being creative is so important? It's just like there in me somehow, and it's kind of a weird thing about being a human being. Hey Dylan, I don't think I've seen you in a while. What's going on? Alright, so I'm going to make the bitten app version of this apple here. I'm going to try and make sure it's kind of lined up similarly. So I made a list before the live show, a list of little things to make. And one thing that I had forgotten that I need to make are eyelids for my characters. So technically I don't really have to make eyelids for every character, Well, I need to make one set of eyelids that can be used as replacements. And I can, in Photoshop, I can reverse those things, reverse the eyelids for each eye. So it's going to be pretty simple to do. It's something I'll probably do tonight. I should have enough time, hopefully, for it, to do that. Make sure this looks good. That. And then I want to make this where there's like a big bite mark in the side. Maybe like this. Yep, you're early, Dylan. That's good. So Jason says, I've been redoing the backyard. It's creative and dirty and sweaty. Has it been turning into a jungle or perhaps? I know our backyard was getting that way. And on the weekends, I've been trying to cut it all back and chop down, like, trees that are growing, wild trees just popping up. You're right, it is pretty creative to do that. Alright, so, let's see here. Let's see if I got, where's my knife at? Get my knife here. Knife isn't exactly sharp. I'm gonna get in here and try to chop this out of here. There we go. So now we've got kind of a cutaway of the apple. I'm going to add some ivory clay in here to look like the inside of the apple. Now I don't know if, I've never really worked a lot with puppet putty. Like, I've of course experimented with it and sculpted with it. But I've never tried to take puppet putty and Van Eyck clay and combine them before. So I don't know if, and I don't think it will, but I don't know if, like, over time the pigments in puppet putty will bleed into the ivory clay, Van Eyck clay. I don't know. I do know that Van Eyck clay does not really do that to itself. So I'm kind of trying to think, what could happen. So long-term wise, let's see here, this might work. There are things that do happen with clay that's unusual in that, like I'm attaching this Van Eyck clay to the puppet putty, and if I want to, I can just like pop it off like this. But what usually happens over time is the longer the clay touches another piece of clay, they tend to merge together, like fuse almost. It's like I don't understand really how it works, but the oils and the waxes sort of melt together over time. And so that might actually happen with this. And that's okay, I'm not really worried about that. The only thing I'm worried about is if the pigments from the red color sort of spread out into the ivory, which I don't think will happen, like I said, but we will eventually find out. So these will be presumably like, teeth marks in apple. I'm going to use this tool this time. Sort of like that. Put those together. I'm not sure if this camera can see it very well, but yeah, yard work is kind of fun. We've got one neighbor around the block from us, and he's a hoarder, and when you go by his house, sometimes he'll have his garage door up, and his entire garage from ceiling to floor is filled with stuff. And one day they came by and like had a a machine that had like an arm and a claw on the end, and they had these dumpsters, and they just filled up, like, literally. Uh, the dumpster, I guess, is like on the back of a truck or whatever, and then they would fill up these dumpster things with all his garbage from his backyard, and they just took like the claw and just, were ripping out tons of trash. And I guess somebody called, maybe the city on him or something like that. And, but he's trying to do like yard work, and he's got all these hoarded lawn ornaments and things. So his yard kind of looks like a Disneyland of lawn ornaments and bricks and all these other things that he had collected. So I guess he kind of got this creative urge, now that his yard was clear of all the junk, to kind of straighten it up. And I don't know if that's, if it's going to get back the way it was before or not, but yeah, the guy, I don't know if he's got a mental issue or what, But it's kind of cool that he's doing creative stuff. It's like because I don't know if I've ever talked about this guy before, but my son used to have a bus stop next to his house, and I'd see him every once in a while, and I talked to him once, and he kind of told me like his story of his life one day, because I saw a car outside of his house that seemed to have been stolen and just ditched. Like the windows were down, and the car was there for days and days, and nobody actually closed the windows when it was snowing and stuff. So I figured it was just abandoned. So I talked to him once, and he seemed kind of depressed. And he was telling me like he lost his mother and all this other kind of stuff, and that he had some like physical problems, and so I guess he's on disability. But yeah, I mean, I think the guy was just depressed, to be that much of a hoarder. Jason says, I'm trying to turn my yard into something more creative than just a flat lawn. Ah, okay. We lived in a house, and we had sort of a big backyard with no trees, right? Because we were renting at the time, and I always thought, when the grass got kind of long, like making a crop circle, like one of those UFO crop circles. Like just let the grass get really long, and then maybe put something weird. That's where my head was back then. It's like maybe I can make something goofy, like the face of somebody, like on the news or something, or some kind of a joke, or alright, so I'm gonna make kind of a stretched out apple here, I think. Have you done that, Jason? That's cool. And you can make like a maze. We had this one farm, because we live in Missouri, so there's of course farms out there everywhere, right? And they had this one maze where they'll grow corn out in a giant field, and then they'll cut out a maze pattern, and they'll put it all on paper first and everything, and they'll plan it out. And afterwards, after they grow the corn, it gets dry and stuff. And so I guess I don't know what kind of machine they go through with, like some kind of backhoe or something like that. And cut the patterns and stuff for you to go through, and it's a big deal. Like a lot of people go there, and they'll grow on another area of land. They'll grow pumpkins. So during the fall, you can buy a pumpkin, and they have a small amount of livestock like pigs and goats and stuff. So they'll kind of let you go through and check them out, and you can get some corn and feed it to the pigs and all this kind of thing. And then on another section of the land, they've got like a little patch of forest, and there's a trail that goes through it. So what they do is they hire actors and actresses to dress up in scary costumes and get like fake fake chainsaws or chainsaws without the chains and all that kind of stuff. And they'll scare you, and they'll kind of make these little displays. So I mean, there's a lot you can do if you had just a bunch of land. It's kind of fun. Holiday things. I mean, if you've got a big backyard, I mean, you could grow a garden. That's kind of fun too. You can get pretty creative with a garden. I've taken we've got this thing that I've got in our backyard. It's a 55-gallon drum that I modified to. It's got these little slits in the side. Hey, whiskey, what's going on? But I put these slits with a jigsaw, and then it's a plastic barrel. So I took a heat gun and sort of heated up where the slit is, and there's like on each side of the slit there's holes, so it won't just go on forever if you modify it, heat it up and pull it out. And so that's what I did. I heated it up, pulled all the holes out, and then let it cool so that there's these little flaps in the side, little like cups like this. And then you put your dirt in there, and then you put the plants in it, and there's almost no weeding. You put your plants in, and stuff just grows, and you water it, and by the end of the season, you get free food, basically. There's just all kinds of stuff. So, Whiskey, so what's the temperature in Canada right now, Mr. Whiskey? Being that it's summertime, it's probably pretty nice. I mean, honestly, today was actually not too hot. I think today was maybe only about maybe 85 degrees compared to what it's usually been, which has been, mid to upper 90s. So it's been kind of a nice day for us. Surprisingly. (22°C). Oh, okay. Alexa, convert 22°C to Fahrenheit.
22°C is 71.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh. That's pretty good. That's like the perfect temperature. It's almost like room temperature. That's good for stop motion. Especially if you're working with clay, it won't really melt as easily. At least not as easily as here. I mean, we've got air conditioning and stuff, but still, definitely helps to have a nice temperature outside. Okay, so we've got our chomped apple, our squashed apple, a stretched apple, and a normal apple. So what I need to do is put some little leaves on there, each one of these. Something kind of nice. Sort of like this. Hopefully you guys can see. Pretty cool. Well, Jacob, I wish we could speed this up, but this is real life, so unless you got a time machine. So, Whiskey says it was 28 at 2 p.m. It's a little bit warmer. And Jason says we need more rain. There's been a lot of forest fires recently. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, I think, oh. So Jacob says that you can't make any money through ad revenue unless you have a 10-minute or longer video. Well, you know, that's alright because there's always Patreon, there's Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, there's yeah, there's a lot of different outlets. I mean, yeah, YouTube is not really where you're gonna get rich for sure with stop motion. Just can't happen. And it's kind of been that way for a while, you know. I mean, they've never really been friendly for stop motion animators. They're more friendly towards long talk show formats, you know, things like Joe Rogan and all those guys that like to talk a lot, and anything controversial, anything political, anything sensational, like guys, you know, stripping down their underwear and jumping off buildings into shallow pools and stuff like that. I mean, that's what gets lots of views. I mean, I find it kind of funny because I've seen a lot of people that do crazy stuff on YouTube just to get attention and make ad revenue money. They had in the news where this one guy, he and his girlfriend went out to like a park or someplace, and he had a 50 caliber handgun, right? And he goes on this long spiel about, he says, oh yeah, you know, this is for my viewers, you know, and I'm ready to die today, but if I survive, you know, if my girlfriend shoots this bullet into this book on my chest, you know, it's for you guys, you know. And it's really not, you know, it's all self-serving, you know, people that want attention and stuff, because that seems to be what people think is important. And the guy ended up doing that stunt and getting killed, you know. It's like an extreme case, of course, but there's a lot of people that do crazy stuff just for views, you know. So I'm fine with being boring and slow and, you know, not editing every single one of my videos here. You know, that's alright with me because, you know, you can't put all your eggs in that one basket. That's just, it's silly. So Jason says, and I only say that to say that that has to suck. Look at how much work you're putting in, like you would have done a ton of this in order to reach 10 minutes. Oh yeah, I mean, it takes forever. But I mean, like what I'm doing here is I'm making a live show out of it, you know. And I don't actually monetize my videos on here anyway, so I mean, maybe I would make some money, but I don't really get a lot of super amount of hits on these videos, so. Because I don't really, like, if I edit it and make it, condense it into a very short time frame, people would watch the video from beginning to end. But I mean, if like I were watching somebody else do this, I would scrub through it too. I wouldn't watch it entirely. I would just be like, okay, it's making an apple. I know what the outcome will be, so let me fast forward. I think most people really are like that. But my goal here is just to make it a fun live experience. And to talk to you guys, because it is fun to talk, even though it's not making me tons of money. In fact, it's not making me any money, but I still love to do it. Alright, so here are our apples. So now I've got eyelids to make. And so I'm going to get rid of our clay here. And the eyelids need to be orange. So just for those who might not have seen my other videos, here's one of the king's sculptures. This is his face. So most of the characters have these eyes like this, which are oval shaped. I'll give you guys a close up. We got these kind of oval shaped eyes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sculpt just an oval shaped eyelid, and I'm going to make it in varying degrees of being closed and opened. And that way, when I load these up in Photoshop and also in the Smith Micro program, which I can't remember the name of. What is it called again? Moho, right? Moho. That's what it's called. No, I need to look. I remembered it. When I load it up in Moho, I'm going to be using a system where I can sort of replace the blinks by making layers visible and not visible, hiding them. So it shouldn't be too hard to do. And I'm thinking I should make how many? Maybe 3. And then I could always, if I want to have a fast blink or something, I don't have to really worry about that, because I can either have it where it's 3 or 2 or even 1. At 24 frames per second, that would be really super quick, but so let's do it this way. And so also I'm not really worried about the scale, because I can resize this to anything I want later on in Photoshop. But sculpting it larger, this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of excited with Moho, is that I am able to sculpt large and add detail and shrink it down later, which gives me a little bit more control over the way things look. So for this one, I'm just going to make it like a slit. So the eye is closed. Like that. Now I'm going to make another one identical to this, but I'm going to have it where the slit is more in at an angle. Yeah, that's exactly right, Jacob. I mean, that's kind of how it is, and it's, I mean, YouTube is, I mean, there's the higher the production value of your broadcast, the better. Like if I had a whole range of cameras in here and lights and stuff, I could make this look like a professional studio and everything. But I'm just working out of my office right now, and it's not, it's not flashy. Dylan, you can get Photoshop, the older version, for free. if you go on our page, animateclay.com, and check out the editing software link section, go in there and there's the Photoshop CS2, and there's a if you follow the link and go on the web page there that's shown, there is a serial number that is on the page and a downloadable exe file, so you install it and then you use the license key that's there. So that's it's completely it's an older version, and it's not illegal or anything like that. It's totally free. The only problem is that it's got some glitches because it doesn't really work with Windows 10 so well. So there might be some glitches, but it does work. And if you guys don't like Photoshop, you can use Krita. Krita is free. Only I'm not really sure about how it works in terms of being compatible with Moho. I know Whiskey has Moho, and I don't know if he's ever tried to do a layered like Photoshop document with Krita. I think you can probably save Krita documents as Photoshop documents. I think you can, but I have not tried that before. Okay, so here's two different types of lids I've created here. So this one is more angled. I notice like one is a little bit fatter than the other. I can always widen that in Photoshop and lengthen it to make sure that it fits on these eyes exactly. A little bit of dust on there. Kind of like this one here. Kind of angry face. Should be fun to animate these. Oops. Yeah, sure. You're welcome, Dylan. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to animate these, just to bring these characters to life that we've been working on for a long, for so many months already. How many months has it been since we started this project? Well, thanks, Jacob. Yep, that's the apple. So, I mean, it might look like an edible apple, but it has a lot to do with the type of clay I used. It's puppet putty. And puppet putty has that waxy look to it, so it's really just a matter of the choice of material, So Whiskey says you can import SVG, EPS, and Adobe Illustrator files. Oh, okay. For vectors, I got ya. Hey, Randy. Yeah, vector art is, that's great for that program. I mean, you can make some really crisp lines and stuff with vectors. If I were a 2D artist, I would definitely go with that for sure. Let me do this here. I've seen, oh boy. I've seen so many animations done in Moho, and it's pretty astounding what you can do with it if you're a 2D artist. But it's more for very stylized stuff and for time savings and stuff. I mean, but in terms of traditional animation, let's see, where is my? Let me get my other knife over here first. Where did I put it? There it is. It's kind of astounding what you can do. Alright, so before I do that, do this first. So I'm just making these little oval shapes again. I'm going to try to make them similar in size. I mean, they don't have to be, but I don't really need to use a lot of clay for this. It's going to be very small in the frame of the film. So I'm just going to kind of leave any imperfections, like for example on this one here, it's got a streak of different colored clay on there, you know, like a lighter or darker orange. It's hard to get stuff to focus on here. There you go, you can kind of see it there. So I'm going to leave those imperfections. And so, like I said before, I've got one eyeball that's kind of straight across and one that's a little bit angled. So I'm going to angle this eyeball when I cut it. Kind of angle it up. And angle this one down. And then this one, I'm going to go straight across. So these will be, in reality I could just actually angle these, couldn't I? That's alright. So that'll be the partially opened eyes. Something like that. So in series, you know, I can have the eye open, close. Just going to add a little bit of detail with my tool. A line. Has to have the sculpted look to it, you know. I don't want it to be too cookie cutter looking and perfect. It's going to have some texture. Like that. Not a perfect edge, you know, kind of rounded slightly. So it's defined, but not sort of mechanical, I guess. There we go. Some of these. So I was thinking, with some of these props and things that I make, so when I make so I made the apples, right? I was thinking when I animate them, the light will be from one direction when I take the photographs, from the top. And so I'm thinking when I photograph them, I'm probably going to photograph them in 4 different or 5 different, you know, maybe 4 or 5 different rotations, so that the light, depending on where it is, I can match with the scene. Otherwise, if the light is always from the top and then I sort of animate this apple spinning, the light will look, it'll look like it's cut out, you know, in spinning. So I'm going to kind of experiment with that. I don't know if I'll actually follow through with, you know, going with a really complicated animation, you know, to make it look realistic. So we'll have to kind of see, but that is one of those things that I'm going to play around with, because I'm not really used to animating in a program like a 2D program. I'm used to actually, you know, making it look the way I want it, which would be to animate it on glass. And so when you save time with these programs, you're also kind of cutting corners in terms of quality. So there's kind of trade-offs to it. Right. So for the top part of the lid, as it's opening, I'm just going to make like these little pieces of clay. So this will be like where the eye is just about fully opened. It's just going to be small little pieces of clay. I mean, this is how I would do it if I were animating it in, you know, on the set. Just like this. But, there we go. So really I only need one of those for top and bottom, but like I said before, with the light and everything, it'll look more natural if I use two pieces. Alright, so this will be for the orange characters. I gotta be careful with all this stuff, it's so small. Oops. Okay. Simple, simple. But really important. So that part's out of the way. Now what I need this would be a good yellow for the eyelids for the yellow character. So it's gonna be the mother character. I think a slightly different color, darker yellow would actually be nice for her. I can't remember in my design though if I had like purple eyelids because she wears makeup or what, but this has kind of got a green tinge to it. Let's see. Let me clean this clay off. So I'm just going to scrape off any dust that was on there. That part's got some dust and other colors of clay. So when I put all the clay, I have all the clay on a tray, like a styrofoam tray, and I laid a plastic bag, garbage bag, over the top of it. And so you can throw that away. And what I did recently was I actually put the bag over the entire thing and like sealed it to keep dust out because this room that I'm in tends to be sort of dusty. Let's see, is this going to be good? No? Yep, I think it'll be alright. Alright, so let's make some lids for her. Her eyes are not as elongated as my other characters, so I'm gonna make these more round in shape. More rounded. Still oval shape, but not as oval shaped. So this will be one lid. And for her, I'm going to go straight across again, like before, to separate the two lids from each other. Should be good. Although my fingers are kind of dirty from all the other colored clays, so I'm gonna clean my hands up real quick with some alcohol, redo that. Just kind of rub all that stuff off my fingers. We got about 10 minutes, Dylan. Got about 10 minutes. I might go a little bit past that. Because all I have to do, I mean, I don't have much left to sculpt. I've got, let's see, a rake, a shovel, a hammer. I mean, suppose I could do that next week. And then after that, because I do have Lee Merriweather that is a rush job for me. Or at least my client seems to be in a rush. So maybe that's what we could do next week, do the rake and all that kind of stuff. Equally important to the film. Oh, there's a tombstone to do also. That reminds me. I better write that down. So I've got my little chicken scratch to do stuff here. Alright. Yeah, okay, so we do have to, I guess, go another week of sculpting before we get on to animation. Because that will take some time. So yeah, we'll just go for the rest of the 10 minutes after I get these eyelids done. So here's the one of the faces of the mother character. So as I photograph all these things, I'm going to be looking at them really carefully to make sure that, you know, they're kind of cleaned up. I've been sitting in the box for a while, so there's some little bits of dust, and kind of clean up all the characters. Well, I'm glad you like it, Dylan. It's definitely fun for me. I like doing it. I mean, if I didn't have other stuff to get done, I would just do this all day. I mean, I would just just work on the film non-stop if I could. Alright, that's a nice clean eyeball lid. Nice eyelids. Yeah, I've got so many things in my brain that I'd like to do creatively, filmmaking wise and all of that. I really would. I mean, it's like I like to make puppets and sets, and I mean, I just like the whole process. Telling stories and everything. It's just, but there's only one me, so trying to like spread out my time to do stuff is difficult sometimes. Oops. Back there. So with our little lids, going to just add a little bit of sculpted texture in there, not a lot. Like I said before, you don't want it to be like with the razor blade cut, you know, an X-Acto knife. It's too perfect. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys get something out of this. You know, learn maybe, even if it's just learning patience. You know, like the length of time it takes to do simple things, and just being able to pull yourself out of, you know, your day and get off Facebook, get off YouTube, and, you know, just sit there and do it, and not be worried about, you know, trying to be famous and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot more. Like, my son is really into YouTube, and I try to get him to, you know, do other things and get interested in other things. And it's actually pretty hard. He's only, how old is AJ now? He's 9. So it's something about the internet that, you know, it can carry you away too much. I mean, I have, you know, my entire internet business is on the internet, so that's where I kind of spend a lot of my time, and I think, man, maybe I should not spend so much time on the internet reading things and all that. I always feel guilty, like if I don't get enough work done or something. And so I wouldn't say I'm addicted to the internet, but I spend my whole day kind of on my computer digitally sculpting while like listening to music on YouTube or responding to my clients on Facebook or messages on my site and all that, and I've got my clients from stopmotionstore.com and everything. But sometimes you kind of need a vacation from all that. Like, I just want to say, okay, what about something, I want to do, like make a film or something. And so that's kind of where this comes in. That's why I'm doing this project, because it's kind of fun and you guys get to see everything I'm doing and take part in it. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever retire, but we'll see about that. I would like to, do like a nice 8-hour long live stream of animating. And Weeby says, it sucks when your day job gets in the way. Yep. The only good part about my job, working for other people, is I'm making sculptures for them. So at least I'm being creative. At least it's not too monotonous like some jobs could be. I mean, I could be flipping burgers or something. So I really can't complain, honestly. But there are times when you're kind of thinking, I want to do something for myself. Yep, that's exactly why I'm doing this, Dylan, because I like to actually work with my hands and do things, And also this story that I'm making here is a good story. I really believe in it. It's just a simple story about people essentially getting along, not being angry at each other because one side is yellow and one side is orange. It's like really silly how people are like that, but it's good to remind people not to be that way. And so it's a nice story. It's for kids, but it keeps me motivated, like creatively, to follow through the whole process, because I like working with my hands and solving problems and trying new things like Moho. Moho is the program that we're going to use to animate this, so it's kind of fun to learn that. I haven't actually jumped into it yet, but it's a challenge, right? That's kind of fun. Yeah, I had to use the internet every day for my business. There's no way to just turn it off for like a month. If I did that, I would probably lose my businesses, so I can't do that. So Randy says, I'm only on the internet for maybe an hour a day, 2 hours when this show is on. I don't have internet in my clay studio, just my office. That's pretty good. You have a cell phone? My wife is always on her cell phone. Actually, I took her cell phone away today when we ate out, and I turned it off and put it in my pocket because she's always on it. She got mad at me at first, but then afterwards she was like, no big deal. And Dylan says, I don't like Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't go on Instagram either. But there are benefits to it. I'm not a Puritan or something where I don't use, like, I'm not like one of these people that are just going to go on an island and stuff and not use the internet. But, it's one of these things where there's good and bad in everything. So if you go on Instagram, you can find a lot of people that, do animation and do artwork and stuff like that. And it's inspiring. There's a lot of inspiring artists on there. And they get lots of attention, and it's actually good for them. They get exposure and maybe work, out of it as well. So it's kind of good. I mean, there are good parts to it. It's just when you're sort of oversaturated with it and you're on there all the time, that's when it gets kind of like, okay, I gotta turn off Facebook. There's too many posts about Donald Trump and all that other stuff that's going on, which I mean, I think before Donald Trump got elected, um, I didn't really notice a whole lot of political posts and things like that on Facebook. But now all my friends, that's all they post. And I mean, I've posted a few things myself, but I try not to get that involved. It's gets kind of like all the creative stuff that people do gets pushed aside for drama, and sometimes it's like, ugh, no more, enough already. So Randy says, I mostly use Facebook to promote my YouTube channel and to spread around a little nonsense, and he uses his cell phone only for work, never watch anything or play games on it ever. And a whiskey says, so as Mark learns Moho, I work on learning OpenTunes in Blender. Cool. Yeah, Blender's pretty awesome. I mean, I did download it a few times, and when they come out with new versions, but it's too much for me to learn. It's just too many. It's too complicated for me. It's too much there. That's just my personal. Like, I'd rather do stop motion, and use simple programs. I think Moho seemed kind of simple before I bought it. That's why I was kind of excited about it. So, Mary says, I've never been to Instagram or Twitter. There's some pretty good stuff on Twitter. There's a lot of artists, there's a lot of animators, and film festivals on there. It's kind of like any place else. They congregate everywhere. So if you got a Twitter channel, you got a Facebook, you got a YouTube. So I guess in a way it's good in that sense. And Dylan says, I have a cell phone. That's probably a good thing, I think you mean to say. And Dylan says, I'm only 11. Oh, okay. Well, there's some stop motion apps for phones out there you could try out. There's what is that one called? Do I have it on my phone? Let me see. This is a really cheesy phone that I've got here. I think I might have deleted the program though. But there's one for, what is it called again? Well, anyway, if you go to the Play Store, if you got your phone, I don't have it. I have it on airplane mode. But anyway, go to the Play Store and do a search for stop motion programs, and there's a few out there you could find. Yeah, sure. Play around with them. Some of them, I mean, a lot of them are for $2, and some are like $7, and some are for free. You just gotta find one that works for you. All right. Well, anyways, guys, it is past 9 o'clock, so I'm gonna end the show. I do appreciate you stopping by. Like I said, next week we'll be making a tombstone, and we've got some rakes and a shovel and a pickaxe and stuff like that to make. So after that, there might not be much more to sculpt. I don't want to say that next week will be the last week of sculpting, but it might be if we get it all done. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, everybody. I will see you all next time. Adios.